Gavin Finlayson here. I'm the platform lead for Workspace. So I've downloaded the app. It will ask you for your Workspace ID. Assuming you've got a license, you can log in. Voila, we have Workspace on an iPad. Come into the app for the first time. The first thing you'll see is the news, which is obviously a huge thing from an LSEG perspective. You can go through the news, more stories, etc., etc. You'll see you've got everything that you would normally want to see from news. You can configure this on the news monitor and actually configure it that way. You can do lots of things. You can actually have different layouts and how you want to do it. And you can save it, whether it's compact, default, save that. All the functionality for news is there. You get up to the top, you've got news for you, which is related to your monitor. Reuters news, go into different categories. So picture me in the morning, coming in on the train in the morning. I'll be reading the news. That's the first thing I'll be looking at. And of course, you've got the tickers at the top, running along, etc. So all configurable. You can go into settings, and settings takes you into the ability to actually tailor it to what you want to see on a daily basis. Very simple, very intuitive. Then if we go into markets, we've got all the market stuff available. You can see you've got all the key markets at the very top. Again, everything here is very configurable and it's very intuitive. So if I want to see more about the FTSE, I merely click on the FTSE index and you've got all the indicators at your fingertips. You can go into view all and it's got the highs, the lows, the caps, the dividend yields, ranges, etc., etc. And again, you can see the graphs. You can configure this to what you want to see, 6 months, 5 years. Let's see how my portfolio is doing. Well, as you can see, I wish I had a FTSE tracker, but that's good. And again, you can see the top movers and within that index down here. All very intuitive stuff. Everything you would expect from a data app that's rich. And then you can get the news that's related to the FTSE on top of that. So these are kind of the key functionalities from a markets perspective. And again, all of this is configurable. You can see within there, you can configure it to view different markets, etc. Then from a watch list perspective, I've got my portfolio already loaded into here. As you can see, it's got a list of my stocks, key changes on a daily basis. So if I go into any one of these, I can start looking at the price performance, looking at the charts, going back in history. So basically, you'll be able to drill into it, know more about it. And as you can see, it's got all the information about that company across the top, whether it's news, financials, peers, etc. Very intuitive, very simple. As you can tell, you should be able to download this and actually be using this from day one. So again, I can flick between portfolios. So obviously, if I'm a fund manager, I have multiple portfolios in here. I can look at that portfolio, look at the related news that relates to that portfolio. Again, totally intuitive. You can filter, you can actually go into different templates, etc., etc. So it's very configurable to the user. But of course, there's the usual search function. So if I want to search for something, as we will do, we may look at IBM, for instance, here, click on the stock. And again, you can look at IBM. You can add this to a watch list. You can add alerts onto it. Exactly the same alerts, exactly the same kind of mechanism, but obviously on an iPad. And again, if you want to add this to one of your portfolios or your watch lists, very intuitive to do. I can add this to my monitor very simply. When I log onto the desktop, I'll be able to see that as well there. So it's actually something you might save on the iPad. You'll log into your screen when you get to work and it'll actually log onto there. So you can see it's all very, very intuitive. And then you've obviously got everything's around your setup, your profile, economic events, etc. It's all in there. For those of you familiar with the mobile app, you'll have no problem transitioning across the iPad. Obviously, a slightly bigger screen. You'll be able to access more data across those screens. And if you're not familiar, I'm sure as soon as you download it, you'll be using it within seconds. And I'd love to take you through some of that functionality this afternoon.